Welcome back to the Passion Within, everybody. We've got a very special guest today, Tom Devost from Golden or Golden Peak Cannabis. I want to make sure I get that right. He's joining us to talk about his passion as a grower and why he is so passionate about growing and the way he grows. So, Tom, we'll start off with maybe you're giving us a little bit of history on you at Golden Peak.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ken. Yeah, we're glad to be here on your show. Golden Peak was originally created back in 2019 by myself and my wife, Renee. Once legalization came to be, we had a little discussion, and then it was something that I was always involved in from a long time, was cannabis. It's something we liked. We like to grow plants. We thought it'd be a good fit for us. So we did our due diligence, and then we decided that we're going to pull the trigger, and we started construction at Golden Peak Cannabis in 2019, October. Once we built out our facility, we applied for our license in January and obtained our micro cultivation license in July of 2020, right when the pandemic was starting, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since then, we've been growing some great cannabis in a living soil. It was important for us to grow in a medium that was organic and have plants grow where they should be growing in soil, because we feel it gives you the best product, and we really feel that that's the way it should be done.
Well, I know that on our channel we talk a lot about living soil and growing with biology, and that's what you're doing, and it does seem to give that extra flavor that a lot of people are missing when they're smoking something that's not growing that way. Have you always grown, like, I know you've grown plants a lot longer than you've grown cannabis? Have you ever tried growing hydroponically or anything other than a living soil?
So actually, back in college, when I was starting to just have fun with growing cannabis, I actually started in a hydroponic system with salts, and at the same time, I was growing outdoors in the summer, in soil, obviously, in different areas, in the forest and that. So you could really see the difference when you smoke one and the other. You can tell that it's not the same. And from there on, I knew that soil had to be the way to go. You may sacrifice a few things, effort, and maybe some would say yield. I would disagree with that, but we feel that living soil, using biology to really break down what's there to give to the plant, is the way to go.
Well, I have to agree with you 100%. I can't even smoke the stuff that's growing in salts. My throat is really bad, and I get such a burn where anything growing in a living soil, I don't get that backhand taste. Now, I think a lot of that has to do with the drying and curing process as well, and if they're flushing properly. But when you grew in university and you were testing both, you really got to know and understand the difference. So let's go, let's get off of cannabis for a little bit, and let's go back a little bit in Tom's history. Where did you grow up, Tom?
So we're located in Dieppe, New Brunswick here. I grew up in Grand Falls, which is a small town in the northwestern part of the province. Lots of agriculture and forestry. So that's where I grew up, and my wife grew up in a sister community, actually. She was born on a farm. Her dad was a potato farmer for his whole life. He actually was a top grower in the region for a couple of years. So she knows what it takes. I mean, growing cannabis is indoors, even. It's essentially farming. She knew that there's a lot of hard work that's involved in getting a quality product to market. So she brought a lot of that to the business as well. So she's been around agriculture, and so it's a great fit. I always liked working on farms and growing plants and that, so it kind of all comes together. Yeah, it was a great place to grow up.
Well, yeah, the small community and that a tight knit community, especially with her dad, award winning potato farmer. I think you lucked out, my friend, in landing her as a wife. Like, come on.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one.
Yeah. Well, if we don't say things like that about our wives, we could be a little bit in trouble. So,
No, she's really a key part of the business.
yeah.
In maybe more in the background, but it's still very important to make sure everything runs smoothly.
Oh, and Silly Lily says, "Oh my God, I lived in Dieppe, Riverview as well."
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's great here. We moved here. We've been here for 20, 22, 23 years now.
Mhm.
So this is our home now, but we do live outside of the city. We have a rural property, so we had lived in the city a long time, but moving out to the country was something we had always aspired to. So we've been here 6 years now, and we have a big garden. We do maple syrup certain
Oh,
years,
nice.
so yeah, it's great. We get both worlds actually. So
I got a question. One of the people in our chat a few shows back was talking about taking the water coming out of maple syrup and actually drinking it and using it for his cannabis. Um, the thought being that it was drawing the moisture up much deeper in the soil system and bringing up more biology. Have you ever thought of doing something like that?
now, I've never really thought of that. It's interesting in a couple of ways. It would be interesting to have that water tested to see what it contains as far as a mineral content and whatever else is in that water.
Yeah.
It could be a source of carbohydrates actually for the biology in the soil, since there is I mean, it's a weak, sweet solution, but
Mhm.
nonetheless, there is some sugar in there, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it would be interesting. Interesting. It's not something you can easily preserve for a year's time, but trying it right now would be the good time because the sap's flowing.
Well, yeah, it would be, an interesting experiment, to take one. Like, I'm not sure. Are you in pots or are you in beds or?
We're in pots. Yeah, 6 gallon pots is what we use.
Yeah, it'd be interesting for you to do a side by side and even for the flavor of the cannabis at the end of it, it'd be
It
yeah, I
is.
don't know.
That's very interesting. I had never really thought about that too much, but yeah, the wheels are turning a bit there now.
Yeah, and Silly Lily says she also remembers that comment about the maple syrup. Yeah, it just popped into my head when you mentioned that you were making maple syrup at probably every second year or so. But so anyway, we'll get back on track here. Um, Give me a fun fact about Tom that most people wouldn't even consider has happened in your life. Something from your past that crazy that you did maybe as a kid.
Crazy that I've done as a kid. Well, in 2005, there was a Rolling Stone concert here in
Okay,
Moncton at the Hill. There's a place where they have big concerts, and me and my wife we decided that we're going to make some teriyaki sticks, have a booth there, and sell to the. They were expecting 80,000 people there, so
right.
we did that actually. We spent about a month making these and freezing them, 20,000 of them. So that might be the top of the list here.
So did you sell out?
We did not sell out, but we did sell a very good amount. It was a lot of work. Not sure if I'd do it again.
For that amount of work, was it really worth it? Right?
When you're a kid, I guess you do these things, or when you're younger. So
Yeah,
part of the
yeah.
learning process.
Yeah, as Silly Lily says, "Wow, that's crazy." But I think it's, that's an experience that you'll be able to. Nobody's generally going to have that is very good for growing up and learning how to sell and what kind of
Yeah.
work it actually takes. Because
Oh yeah.
you know people
Nothing's
think
for
that,
free.
yeah, well, people jump into cannabis thinking they're going to make all this money, and that's not the actual truth, especially now, the way the government is taxing everything. But let's go back as a kid. What's one of the things that you did as a child that was annoying to your parents,
Oh, jeez.
or should it be the other way? How many things did you do that wasn't annoying to your parents?
Well, I don't know. I often was late coming in. Spent a lot of late nights out with friends. That would probably be it, I would say. I kept my mom up probably a few nights there waiting for me to come through the door, I guess.
Well,
Yeah,
so
it was fun times though. Lots of good memories back then.
So in high school, you were obviously a little bit of a partier. What was some of the did you play sports, performing arts? What was your entertainment other than
I
going out?
So I did play some sports in the younger years, but I really liked the outdoors, fishing and hunting. We had a couple of camps in the bush, so I'd spend a lot of time there. I spent a lot of time with my grandfather fishing in a canoe on the Restigouche River, salmon fishing. I've done plenty of that, partridge hunting. So that occupied a good chunk of my youth, I guess I would say. A lot of good quality time.
Well, and you learned a lot from your grandfather, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Very important person in my life.
Oh,
He's no
that's
longer with us,
fantastic.
but still think of
Yeah.
him all the time.
Well, and it's those moments in time that you can look back at and really, get grounded again in today's crazy world.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't think we'll relive those times. Unfortunately, the kids now, it's a different focus they have. Technology has a lot of good things to it, but there's some things that would be or maybe not so good, I guess, is the way I could say. And it's just the way that we've evolved, I guess. Don't know if it's
Well,
good or not.
there's good and there's bad. A lot of it is, how the kid or is handling it, and their mindset as well. And that a lot of that starts with the parents. Do you have
Of
children,
course.
Tom?
Yeah, I have a little boy. He's 11. Yeah. So it's a struggle, but that's one of the reasons we decided to move out in the country so we'd have a different experience growing up.
Well, and that's a fantastic thing. I'm a country boy. I never lived much in town until I was older, but it's that grounding in nature that I always loved, right? And like you grew up that way as well,
Yeah.
hunting and fishing. I used to run around the forest and play cowboys and Indians as a kid,
Oh,
and
yeah. Yeah.
you let your imagination go, and you'd be space ranger, one day, and deep sea diving the next.
Oh yeah, I mean, our parents would scream at us to come in from outside because it was getting dark. Like, you don't see that anymore.
No, I wish we did a lot more, like
Oh yeah,
you
for sure.
may the snowbanks used to get so deep in Alberta, we'd actually tunnel through them and make little forts out of them. Did you do that kind of stuff as a
Oh
kid?
yeah, yeah, yeah. We've done that when we were young too. Oh yeah,
Did you ever
but
make ice slides?
ice slides, yeah, make ice slides, tunnels, forts. Forts, and then snowball fights. And
Oh, that's
now
always
I don't
fun.
think they'll let kids throw snowballs too much anymore.
Yeah, probably not. But then I didn't really do that so much in school. It was more like, with the family and the friends and the neighborhood
Yeah,
kids.
yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah.
so you've been in cannabis for a few years now. Um, where were you before cannabis? Like, what was the industries that you started out with?
So I worked in IT. I actually, like, way before, after high school, I worked in. I operated some combines out in Saskatchewan for a summer, going down to the States. Did some of that. I did some welding, a bit of construction. Then I went to college and I got a business diploma,
Hmm.
and then I went into some IT and like project management type work. But I always had some entrepreneurial things going on the side. I've owned some real estate and bought and sold some real estate in the past. So that's something else that I like to do. But I was always looking for some sort of business where I could have an opportunity to start something good and see it grow in that. So
Hmm.
cannabis was something that we had a passion for business. We have a passion for growing stuff, and so bringing it all together, we feel like cannabis was the thing to do. So so far, we've had some very good success since the start. We've been growing for other people, other LPs, selling our product on a wholesale basis for the time being. We've recently obtained our microprocessing license. So we're going to be packaging our own product here. We're hoping it'll be on the shelf. We're hoping by the fall, if not sooner.
Hmm.
We're looking at a farm gate store. Farm gates allowed here in New Brunswick, which is something that we're fortunate to have. Cannabis NB here has been very forward thinking in that sense. So we're in the design process of a little farm gate store. We're very close to a large population center here in the province. So we feel that there's some opportunity there for us. We want it to be just more than a store. We want it to be a place where you can come and learn about cannabis, learn about how it's grown, learn the different aspects of what it takes to grow, a premium quality cannabis.
Hmm.
Why we do what we do, learn about the soil and how the biology all comes together to make it all happen. There's lots of opportunity, I feel, even though you hear about a lot of doom and gloom in the industry, there is in certain areas.
Hmm.
But I think people who are growing a great product, put their heads down, work hard. It's like really a lot of other businesses. If you do things right, you should be somewhat successful.
Well, so I know, like, some people won't understand or don't grasp the meaning of what you mean when a farm gate store. So, like, out in Alberta, would that be like, you have just a little stand at the end of the driveway, or how does that work?
So basically, that's kind of it. It's a little, it's a retail location on the site of your processing or cultivation license. So it has to be at the
Okay.
same on the same lot, but essentially it's a little retail store where people will be able to come in and we'll be able to talk to them and sell them some products, some of our own products that are grown within the province. We expect to be able to showcase other growers in the province that
Nice.
share our view of how cannabis should be grown, maybe.
Hmm.
So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, that's essentially what it is. We're going to have a little twist to it, which I don't want to disclose too much at this point here, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be something that people are going to be able to learn from, have an experience with, as well as be able to buy our products.
Well, that's great. I know a lot of people are talking about like bed and breakfasts and stuff like
Yes.
that,
Yep.
or bud and breakfast.
Agrotourism. I think there's a lot of potential there for cannabis, especially where we are here. A lot of people from Ontario and Quebec come to the beach here in the summer. So we're 20 minutes from the beach here. So I think with the proper maybe a little bit of marketing here and there where we can, social media, get the word out. We can have some people come and visit our place and see what we do.
Yeah, I know there's I think it's on Facebook, a bed and breakfast website that promotes bed and breakfast all over the world. So that might be something you want to take a look
Yeah.
at.
Yeah, that's something. There is, I believe, a bed and breakfast in Alberta. It's cannabis related there that somebody has opened up, and I see some postings on LinkedIn and that. It's interesting.
Yeah. And Silly Lily is Bud and Breakfast. Would that be Shediac Beach?
Shitty Beach, that would be it. Yes. Yeah.
And I know that something gas. Oh, Gastown. They have one out on the island on Victoria Island.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That'd be interesting. That'd be cool. If they can get some consumption lounges going, that'd be great. I
Mhm.
think there's some provinces looking into it there, but that should be the next thing that we lobby the government for, I guess.
And I think the government needs a lot of lobbying, but that's
Yeah,
my personal
I
opinion.
understand the it's the smoking thing and the tobacco that come into play here. I think that's a
Yeah.
little hurdle that needs to be overcome somehow, but we'll see where that goes.
Well, it's just like having cannabis legalized in Canada. Took a long time to get it there, but as long as we just keep going, keep going, keep going, eventually, we can get things done. I think that's going to be the main part of moving anything like that forward.
So it's going to take some time. It's still a very young industry. I mean, it's only been
Mhm.
legalized, for a few years now. So these things, changing regulations, it doesn't happen fast. But
Yes, it's
you got
hard
to
to
be
move the
persistent at
government.
it. It's
Yeah.
very hard. It's very hard, but it's doable.
So, okay, you mentioned that you had to build out your facility first. Some people don't understand how the system works, so maybe if you wouldn't mind, you can explain why you actually had to build your facility before you even got your license.
So back in I think it was May of 2019 or March of 2019, Health Canada sent out a directive for anybody applying for new cannabis licenses would have to build out their facility and be able to prove to them that you can follow the GPP and security requirements
Mhm.
before you can even apply for the license. In order to apply for the license, you have to provide Health Canada with what is called an evidence package. And that is basically a video of you going around the facility and discussing all the points that need to be addressed for the application to proceed. For security and GPP. And when I mean GPP, that's an acronym for Good Production Practices. And
Okay.
those are practices that we need to follow that maintain really, it's for the sanitation of the facility and the product quality that leaves the facility. They want a product that's safe to consume. We all do. It's very important. This is a product that's inhaled most of the time. So it's important that it's clean, free of pesticides, diseases, mold, anything really foreign matter.
Yeah.
So long story short here is yes, you have to have your facility built out to the standards that they will accept. So it's very costly. It's somewhat risky. You have to put a lot of effort and resources up front to be able to do this with really no guarantee that you're going to get a license. But
Mhm.
I mean, as long as you meet those criteria and you can pass the security clearances, there's really only time is what you have to contend with before you get a license, really.
Yeah, I know when I first looked at it, because I looked at building out a micro grow on my property, and it just was like, I just couldn't see myself spending that kind of money to set something up with not a guarantee or an idea that yes they would approve it. So yeah, it was like there's a lot of
It's
stipulations.
it's a bit of a mountain they've put in front of people there for sure, definitely. I kind of understand why, but still, it makes it hard for a lot of people. And I mean, for us, we had to lease a building. We couldn't think of building a building for this at the time. We just wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah.
So we were fortunate enough to be able to find a landlord who was going to let us do what we needed to do to the building, knowing what the building was for. There's a lot of people who still have that stigma, and
Hmm.
well, no, I don't want this and that. So we found a very great landlord to work with, who's been excellent throughout, and he really just looked at it as another business wanting to set up shop here, and it's exactly what it is, really.
Yeah.
So we were lucky in that sense that we didn't have to put that money out there at least. So, I mean, you do what you can with what you have. We have a facility that we can build out our full 200 square meters that's allowed under the micro license, but we really just started out with one large grow room, which is really only 160 plants, and another small one, which was 80. It's all we could do to start out with.
Yeah.
So we did that, but we've since built a couple more grow rooms since then. So, but it's not easy. No, I'll agree with you 100%.
So are you at your full 200 square meters yet, or do you have
Not
some
quite.
space left?
We have one more room we can build. We're kind of taking a pause on that for now because we want to get into the processing and packaging side of the
Mhm.
business. So should have X amount of resources of people resources to look at this, which is me and my wife. So
Yeah.
we have a lot of capacity right now. That's not a problem, but we're looking at the packaging side right now. That's a lot of SOPs need to be written here, and
Yeah.
that's where we're focusing our energies right now.
So, you're talking about SOPs for the packaging end. What are the regulations on that side of it? Like you went through all the regulations for creating the grow. Do they have a bunch of extra regulations on that side? Like I know that everything has to be tested, but if you can explain a little bit about that.
So it's not so much regulations that they have in place, but we need to write some SOPs for packaging flour, how we're going to weigh it, how are we going to seal the packages, how are we going to print the labels. There's
Mhm.
all of that stuff. It's regulations that are there. You need to print a label. There need to be certain things on the label. They need to be of a certain size.
Yeah.
The THC symbol needs to be there. It can't be any bigger than your logo. There's a lot of regulations in that sense on the packaging side of things. So yes, and we need to write some SOPs, to be able to have a smooth running operation that people can just read this and okay, and they know what to do there.
So
Because
are you
we want to avoid a recall. There's a lot of recalls that happen for simply mislabeling issues. There's nothing wrong with the product. It's the label that's wrong, and that can force a recall. So you want to avoid those because they're totally avoidable, those type of recalls.
Well, yeah, exactly. You want to do it right the first time and then you don't have to worry about it. So, do you pre-submit a label to them and get it approved? Would that be the
No.
way you would do it?
So there's a guideline, a labeling and packaging guideline booklet that they give you. You need to follow all those. They will not approve any of your packaging or labeling. You need to get it right. They'll probably tell you if you get it wrong, or if they get a complaint or something, But they really, I don't think, would have the capacity to be able to approve everybody's labels.
Okay, okay. Yeah. It would be nice if you could actually pre-send it in and they could give you the approval before, you went to print and put it on the packaging. So you're just going like quarters, eighths. Are you going to be doing pre-rolls, or what kind of stuff are you going to be selling out of your farm gate store for your own product?
So we want to keep it very simple to start out with. So we're going to be doing 3.5s, packaging to start out with for the flour. We're going to be doing some pre-rolls. There might be different formats and sizes of pre-rolls. We're still contemplating that. There'll be accessories. We want to have at least 3 or 4 strains to be available. We're going to
Mhm.
start with that, and then we're going to go from there, see where it takes us. We're also going to have to, or not have to, but we're going to be offering our product to Cannabis NB if they want some of our product to put on their store shelves as well. So yeah, it's going to be modest to start out, and we're just going to see where it takes us, really.
Well, maybe what I'll do here is I'll bring up your IG here, and we can take a look at some of the cannabis that you have grown.
Sure.
Um, let's make sure. Here we go. So we'll start with that. Do you remember what strain that is?
So that's the super unknown. That was actually bred by a master grower. His name's Scott Savoy. And he bred that, and we pheno hunted that, and that's what we came up with. So actually, I have a crop of that coming down on the 31st. It's a very
Mhm.
nice flower. It's good THC. It's in the high 20s. It makes big colas, as you can see.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Look, this last one here, that's almost, I'd say that's probably a good ounce bud on that top cola.
You're probably pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes very nice colas.
And which one is this one?
So that one there is that's some Tiger Bomb there.
Okay.
So Tiger Bomb is one of our signature strains, and we actually won a contest with that. It was the New Brunswick has a cannabis cup.
Right.
The Cannabis NB actually puts it on. They do it once a year, and there's a sativa and a indica category. So this our Tiger Bomb won for first place in the sativa category last time around.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, and
Yeah.
do you have that you're going to be selling in your store?
It's going to make an appearance at some point for sure. Yeah. We want to start out the store and launch a new strain with something brand new. And it's something we're pheno hunting, and it's actually drying right now. So we're hoping there's something in
Okay.
there that is going to be a little gem. So far, everything looks good.
I love that. Everything is supposed to look good, especially at that point, right?
Yeah.
So this is just a baby here. I can see the drip line irrigation in the bottom there.
Yeah.
Are you you're starting them out? Is that in your 5 or 7 gallon? How many
So we
gallons?
go through a couple stages,
Okay.
actually, Ken. So we start our clones out in little plugs, and then we go to a 500 millimeter fabric pot, just a very, very little pot. They stay in there for really about a week, and then until we usually see all the roots starting to grow out. Once we start seeing that,
Hmm.
we'll pot up into a 1 gallon pot.
Right.
They'll stay in there for another week to 10 days to develop a good, nice root mass in there. Then we go into the 6 gallon pot and we put them in the flower room. Depending on
And
the
then
strain, we'll let them veg in the flower room for maybe 5, 6 days, some of them maybe 2 days. And then we'll
okay.
flip them to flower, and then it's off to the races.
So this is one of your grow rooms or your flower rooms. Are those moving beds that you can slide back and forth because there's no walkway there?
That's right. Yeah, those are rolling tables. So that's our first large grow room that we built. We've since made some very different, serious changes to the other grow rooms. But yes, so those tables can separate, and you get about 18 inches there you can walk through. It's just enough to get a little chair in there to do some pruning and for a person to be able to work in relative comfort, I guess.
Well, and with the limitations of how many square feet you can have under your lights, you have to have something like that.
Yeah, you got to maximize the space, and you want to maximize the space, the footprint space in your building too. If you're just taking up aisle space, I mean, you're paying for that. So you got to
Yeah.
really maximize every square foot that you can. Now, those are 4 foot wide tables. In the latest grow rooms, the last two rooms we built, we've actually put 3 foot tables. So it gives us that's the same canopy, the same everything, except we got a little more room to work.
Okay,
A
okay.
little more grower friendly, I guess.
Yeah. So you're using LEDs, I see.
LED throughout the building, yeah, everywhere. We're really passionate about it. Well, we're really into the LED lights. I think it's the only way to grow now. Now that we know we can change spectrums and alter, we can do sunrises, sunsets. You can do a lot of things with an LED light that you can't with an HID.
So what kind of LEDs are you using, or would you mind saying that?
So that first room you saw there it's a product called Alias.
Yeah.
It's a company out of Sudbury that sells those. They're a very good light. We've had great success, great flower with those lights. But we've since changed to a different light in the last grow rooms, something that can give us more custom mobility, I guess.
Yeah.
We can change the spectrums. We can dim. We can do sunrise, sunsets. They really pump out a lot of PPFD, a lot of micromoles.
Yeah.
So we don't have to raise or lower the lights to be in the perfect sweet spot. We can just dim them, keep them up high, and then dim them. So it's less work. There's some advantages, but I mean those aliases. What you're seeing right there is a flower grown under the alias lights, and it really gives a quality #1 product.
Oh yeah, you can see the trichome production on that, and that's
They're
another one of your
frosty.
Tiger Bombs, fifth
That's
batch
the Tiger
Tiger
Bomb
Bomb.
there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful, bud. So how does it smoke? Like, I know you're drying and curing, etc. You were talking, you were been doing a little bit of changing, but how does that really, is it got a long back end on it? I know it's high THC, but
Well,
what?
it's actually not that high THC.
Okay,
Yeah, so 23, 24, 25 is kind of where you're going to get Tiger Balm. So it's interesting. I mean, we all hear about high THC flower and how it's kind of what you need if you want to be successful in the marketplace. Well, the contest that I mentioned earlier, where we won first place, was with that flower at 24%.
yeah.
So it kind of, I don't know, it kind of says something there. Quality is not THC, obviously.
Well, and I've been trying to preach that for a long time myself. Is it's the whole plant medicine, and you're get a much better effect overall from the whole plant, not just growing for a THC. So, now
Yes.
I saw in the other room you were using just stakes, but in here I see some strog netting.
Yeah, we use netting. So the Tiger Balm, one of its Achilles heel there is that the buds get fairly large, but the plant can't really support it. So we usually have to double trellis the Tiger Balm. Now stakes, every plant gets a stake for us. Every plant we put in, every pot, they get a stake. They get a tomato clip. That's kind of our standard operating procedure for every pot.
Okay,
But then we have to come across with a netting on, I would say 80% of the strains that we grow need at least one net.
right.
Some need two. Sativa dominants, they grow more, they grow taller, they stretch more. Typically, we'll put two nets onto those ones.
So you're able to attach that strictly to each table, so because your tables are moving, right?
That's right. Every table has a grow net attachment to it. So we put the little poles. They have little hooks on them, and we just put a net. We have a device there to string the nets along. So we put that in there, and we'll weave. It helps too as well. We do a lot of training the plants. Pruning and training is something that we focus a lot of our attention on. So we do LST, low stress training of plants. So it's
Okay.
really taking the main cola and giving it a good twist, holding it down with maybe a piece of string or something, and then
Mhm.
eventually it'll grow kind of crooked. But it's
Yeah.
really it's to kind of even out some of the hormones in the plant, so you don't get one dominant cola growing. You get more of an even canopy that way. It's very
Right.
strain dependent. But yeah, so just to come back is we'll once we put the netting on, we'll give the cola a square, but the other ones will get their own square, so everybody kind of can stay a little bit separate. So it helps with that as well.
And so that's helping with your airflow. Now, how much de-leafing are you doing? Do you do a 21-day trim?
So it depends on the strain. Certain strains need more pruning than others. We don't like pre-roll grade material too much, the fluff. So we tend to take a lot off the bottom. Leaf wise, we might leave more leaf than some people. We feel with photosynthesis, it has the more leaf you have, the more pumping you're going to get through that plant. Now, of
Mhm.
course, if it's not getting any light, we'll take some of those leaves off. We will de-leaf a week before harvest. We'll come in and really strip a lot of leaf off, especially
Right.
if it's been like we have pretty good success in getting a good fade since we're in pots. We can get the plants to fade out the last couple of weeks. So the week before harvest, those leaves are getting pretty yellowish.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there's not
you
much nutrients left in them.
yeah, and you pretty much it helps a lot in the trim room if you've taken all those excess leaves off as well.
For sure, we try to do as much as we can before the day of harvest. Day of harvest, we come in and one day we've taken down, removed a lot of the big fan leaves, and then hung it for dry.
Yeah. So, but what age is this room at?
The plants.
Yeah.
So those plants would be about a week. Uh, they'd be probably just flipped there. They'd probably be 5, 6 days into veg there.
Okay. So,
But they would be 6 weeks old from clone.
right. So you take everything from clone. You have a separate mother room.
So we have a separate mother room. Yeah, we have a seed bank. We're doing a pheno hunt, like I mentioned earlier, so that comes from seed.
Hmm.
But yeah, we got a mom room there. We keep our moms in there. It's not very big. It's kind of tight in there, so we're cycling through moms quite a bit, which has its advantages. You have nice fresh moms to work with,
Yeah.
but it means we have to schedule our moms to make sure that we got some stuff ready when we need some clones. So that can be a little tricky sometimes,
Oh, most
especially with our size limitation. It's kind of tough. We also do our pre-veg in the small pots and the 1 gallons in that room, so it tends to fill up rather quickly.
yes, I would think so. So
Yeah.
on this picture, we're seeing something hanging down here from the top. It almost looks like water sprayers, but I don't think you're spraying from the top.
So those are misters. So
Okay.
we do mist the plants. We mist the plants with a solution of dissolved CO2.
Okay. Okay.
So we deliver CO2 to our plants via this method here versus the traditional method through the air.
Hmm.
We've been doing this pretty much from the beginning, and it works very well in our situation.
So have you tried the other way, or you just went
Yes.
strictly? Okay. So what was the difference you found?
Well, the difference comes down in a couple of things. There's the cost. We use a lot less CO2 this way.
Okay.
And our rooms tend to be very dry when we put the plants in first because we don't have all that organic matter in the room, that biomass to be able to create the humidity that we need to keep it where we want it. So that helps out with that. There's also we believe that it helps with the elimination or the prevention, I guess, of powdery mildew.
Okay.
Because the solution that we're spraying on these plants is like at a 4.5 to 4.8 pH, so it's very acidic. And well, mildews and molds don't like to grow in an acidic or a fluctuating pH environment.
Hmm.
So the leaf has a much higher pH. When you spray this on it, it moves that pH to it I guess equalizes itself out. So we've never had any powdery mildew. I mean, knock on wood, it's never been an issue for us. We think this could be part of that.
Yeah.
So, but as far as the end product, I don't know if there's really much of a difference whether you give it through the air or through the water solution that we have. We've never had any mold or mildew or botrytis issues either. Some people are
Yeah.
kind of leery, you're putting water in your butt there, and I was too, but it's proven over the last 2.5 years now, we've maybe thrown out a kilogram of botrytis infested bud, but that's it.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So yeah, I certainly believe in the system.
So who convinced you to try that? Was that a company that's doing that? That they had the test results from it?
So there's a company, yeah, it's called CO2 Grow, and now they do this mainly on different type of crops and not necessarily cannabis. But I was put into contact with them when we started out, and I hemmed and hawed about it, and it's something different, and it's not intuitive for a grower to start spraying your bud with water.
Yeah.
But we gave it a try, and we've put it in all the rooms since. Every new grow room gets the system.
And that's something that a lot of people would be really leery of. And you are, because
Mhm.
you're on a coastal end, you're getting a lot of moisture in your air already, and that's one of
Yep.
the things that is a concern right from the outset. Is PM issues. Um, do you think it's maybe the CO2 is drying out the bud, or are you like How
I mean, the
much
bud
would
is
you?
in the bud. We've done some dry tests, and the bud is never wet for more than 10 seconds after the mist.
Okay.
It's a very very fine mist, and it's not for very long. So every 20 minutes is the protocol. It gets a little misting. Your lights on only, not during the dark period,
Yeah.
obviously. And we do stop at an appropriate period prior to harvest. So
Yeah.
it's certainly yield wise, it works because if it doesn't work, I don't know where the plants are getting their CO2 from because we're running in the rooms at around 500 ppm.
Well, and you look at this picture here, and all it is beautiful buds hanging out of it. You know, that's
Oh
just
yeah,
when those before those were at the end of the cycle and went yellow, that would have just been a beautiful sea of green.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. No,
And there's that.
it's been working great, but yeah, good observation on that.
Yeah, it's when things are working, you don't want to stop and change
No.
things, right?
Yep.
So
And
let's go.
I've been saying, well, do a test and just shut them off and see what happens. Well, then yes, you forego half your yield.
Well, yeah, you don't want
I'm
to
not.
blow
That's not a test I want to do.
exactly right. So now you're uh oh gosh, now I can't even remember that the end of the road. Oh geez, what did you call it there? Farm gate.
The farm gate, yes.
When are you actually going to have that available? Is that going to be this in a month, 2 months? When do you think that's going to be available for people out in your area?
So we're having to do a little expansion onto our facility for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that involves building permits and contractors and all those wonderful things that take a lot of time these days. So we're in the design phase right now. We're going to be applying for a building permit probably within the next, I don't know, 6 weeks. We're hoping by the fall. We'll say by the fall, we're hoping to be able to have our doors open and start greeting customers.
And this is going to be on your label. That's where people are going to be able to recognize that it's from Golden Peak.
That is going to be our label. That is right. Yep.
Oh, fantastic. So, like, I know right now you're growing. You're not labeling your own stuff. It's all going out to other companies. Are they using that at all, or is it just strictly under their name right now?
So it's been a bit of both sides of that. We've had our name on the packages under the Crystal Cure brand, but we're also selling to other growers. Some of it's actually being exported to Australia. Some of our products. So it's
Nice.
we're not going to see our name on those labels for sure. We're really focused right now on developing some good B2B relationships.
Mhm.
But also we want to get our own retail brand out there and start building a brand. We have a good foundation, I think, to start on. We may not be well known because our name's not on the package, but our product has still been out there, and once we do have it out there, and people will recognize the same quality.
Well, and are you going to be able to use the same name like the Cherry Bomb that has won an award? Or are you going to be able
The Tiger Bomb, yeah, for sure. We're going to
the
use
Tiger Bomb?
Tiger Bomb. Yes, we're going to certainly use that. That's our strain. We're going to use that. The Super Unknown is another one that we could be doing. But like I said, we're excited about this pheno hunt that we're doing right now, and we'll be excited to see some test results. That's the only thing that's kind of can go either way with the THC, as we discussed earlier. The way it is, you got to have a
Yeah.
certain amount, but the great thing about the farm gate is we're not beholden to a buyer of our cannabis. We can offer it there even if it's at 24%, and we believe once we have a little following going that and we're able to explain our product and have some FaceTime with the customer that give this a try. It's just as great as the more potent stuff.
Yes. And I actually, in a lot
So
of
yeah,
ways, find it better. And it lasts longer on a high. Like I remember, smoking some really high THC stuff, and like 20 minutes later, you're reaching for another joint because it just has no legs to it. Where
you're right. Yeah.
the lower the THC, it just seemed like you could float for like an hour or more.
Yeah, I think it's more than THC. I think there's still a lot of research that needs to be done on that, but I think the entourage effect can have a lot
Mhm.
of can play into this a lot. So it may not be just the THC, or it could be other cannabinoids or other
Yeah.
terpenes or esters or who knows.
So, you're growing in a living soil, you're growing in pots. Are you growing in that methodology on your own property for like vegetables? Like, do you grow, what
So
else?
yeah, yes, actually, our garden here is we grow organically. Basically,
Yeah,
we have beds, raised beds. We grow in raised beds. We grow about probably 20 to 25 different things between herbs and root vegetables and a lot of tomatoes. We process a lot of our product to try to keep it throughout the winter. So we have a lot of fun with that. We get our son to help us out with that when we can get him away from the screens. So it's something else for him to
yeah.
do. So yeah, we do practice those same practices here for our own food. Yeah.
Now, are you doing your four plants at home, or is that where you're going to do maybe some of your testing at home
So I
for
do
your large
outside.
port,
I do my 4 plants outside in the summer for sure. Yeah.
right?
So yeah, I do some experimenting here as well. Different things. I mean, things that you can relate to on the indoor as well, because it's not always the
Mhm.
same. But yeah, we have some fun here with that for sure.
And you better be growing potatoes since your wife's dad was, an award-winning potato farmer. You better be growing potatoes.
We grow lots of potatoes, no problem there.
I think that's a staple of the Canadian diet, is good potatoes.
Well, one thing I want to mention about the living soil portion of things, it's very, I guess, popular in this part of the country. The
Yeah,
Atlantic region, we seem to have a higher concentration of living soil growers around here, which I think is great.
right.
And Av Singh, I think, and Randy Fleming both deserve a lot of credit in regards to that. They really have a following for that movement, and
Mhm.
he's or they both kind of nudged me really into that direction there when we first started out this, because we were still looking at different options. Hydroponic was never one, but the living soil, they it didn't take much convincing, let's just say, but their passion for that certainly rubbed off on us. So.
Well, I know Abs is a brilliant man, and I'm so fortunate that he agreed to be on the Soil Matters podcast every Monday with Leighton Morrison, who's another guy that's like totally into biology and growing
Oh
and
yeah, for
technology.
sure. Yeah.
I'm glad that he's influencing more people to move into that method of growing. As far as I can see, a lot of the cannabis that I've had the chance to smoke, that's the stuff that gives more back to the person consuming it than the other cannabis.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel it's a superior product for sure, and I think it's the right way to go.
Now, Lily or Silly Lily here has a statement here. My uncle used to grow potatoes, and he put a whole fish every so many plants. That's a great nitrogen source, of course. But did you ever hear of that being done in your area?
I've never heard of that, but I made some compost tea earlier today, and we put fish hydroslate into it, which
Yeah,
feeds the
hydrolysate.
bacteria. So
Yeah,
yeah, I can't see a downside to it really, except maybe the smell.
yeah, but I think you
If
dig
it's
the hole a
buried,
little
I
bit
guess.
deeper, you
Yeah.
know. Well,
No,
yeah,
no. I mean, we use fish compost. We use kelp
mhm.
meal, kelp extract. There's a lot of certainly beneficial nutrients that come from the sea.
Are you having all that stuff tested before? Because I know a lot of the concern of the testing is that you're going to get the heavy metals out of that. So are you testing your inputs as they come in?
So our inputs we buy from reputable buyers. Black Swallow Living Soil has a very good reputation for that, and they've had it all tested. So we review the test results that they provide.
Right.
We do have our soil tested, perhaps not every batch, but we have our soil tested on occasion.
Hmm.
And well, you have to do heavy metal testing on your flower for the COA
Yeah.
for Health Canada purposes. So if there's any issues, you'll certainly see it there. And it's
Definitely.
interesting. We've had heavy metal issues in certain strains, and actually certain phenos in the past. Certain phenos, it appears like cadmium or arsenic more than others, and
Mhm.
it's something to be recognized for sure. And you got to pay attention to it.
Definitely, you got to make sure that you're not putting in the wrong thing at the wrong time for what your plant needs at that time, right?
Yeah, certain amendments can certainly boost the heavy metal content. Rock dust is one of them that you have to be cognizant of.
Yeah.
Certain areas where they mine this stuff, it's heavier in these metals than others. So.
Right. Are you doing anything like Korean natural farming, like you were talking about compost? Are you doing teas, extracts? Where are you moving in that direction?
So we do compost teas. We've started a compost tea program here. It's not something we used to do too much, but we're doing it a lot more. I think there's a lot of benefit to really increasing the microbial life. Now, these are biological teas. They're not necessarily to provide more nutrients, but phosphorus is an issue that we've been struggling with for a time.
Okay.
It's in the soil. We know it's there, but we need to break it down so it's available to the plant. The
Yeah.
microbes and the biology in the soil do that. So that's something that we're always working on. We hope that the compost teas here, we're doing some tests, different kind of tests right now to see if it's having an effect. But yeah, we're getting more and more into the teas, and I need to learn more about those and to come up with the optimal recipe at the optimal time. So
Yeah.
yeah, teas are something certainly. We're looking maybe down the road to make our own soil. That could be a possibility. But for now, yeah, the tea business is something that we're into.
Well, I know a lot of people are moving more towards the extract because it's a lot easier to have specifics in it than the
Yes.
tea. But you might want to talk to Tom Landry. I know he's down in your area. He's using Leighton Morrison's horizontal systems if you ever want to go to a larger bed where you're not having to change out soils. But I've got one question that I try to ask that every single guest that I have on the Passion Within, and that is, what would you have to say to the youth of today about the passion it takes to find their path in life?
I would say they should try to experience different things in life, some variety.
Hmm.
That's how you're going to get an idea of what you like and what, more importantly, what you don't like.
Right.
Um, I, th- I don't know. I feel kids are focused on too few things these days. That being electronic devices. I think it has an effect on how they interact with their peers.
Hmm.
So I think if we can, kids can be exposed to things outside of that. Work with your hands, get outside, play in the soil, fix something, build something. Things like that. I think there's a lot of benefit to that.
And that's what you're going to be teaching your son. You're going to be taking him in the garage to change the oil in the car and stuff.
Stuff like that. I mean, he had March break a couple of weeks ago, and we decided we're going to build some bird houses. So we built 11
Oh,
bird houses. So something different. Working. I think the iPad is more dangerous than working with a saw myself. So,
yeah, yeah. Have you
so
got
no, they got
into
to learn these
bees?
things because it's going to be lost. It's
Yeah.
going to be lost in the future. They won't know how to do anything for themselves.
Have you tried getting him into beekeeping at all?
Beekeeping, not yet. I would like to have a hive here. I just don't have the time, but that'd be interesting. Yeah.
Well, maybe that's something that you can have him take a look at and get him interested in it, and then he can teach your dad.
That would be a great idea. He's already teaching me lots of stuff, so.
Well, I know if anybody wants to learn computers in their cell phone, they generally turn to their nephew or their child and go, "Okay, how do you run this damn thing?"
Yeah, you're right.
Well, Tom, it has been an absolute pleasure having you with us today. You're amazing. You're growing some fantastic flower. We had the chance to see some of the pictures, etc. I can't wait for people to come to your house to learn more about the flower, what cannabis can do to help people, because a lot of it is lacking in education, and you're going to be helping people with that education. And I think that's a wonderful thing that you're going to be doing.
Well, thanks a lot, Ken, for having us. Thanks for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
Well, and maybe in the future we can get your wife to come on and sit with you and talk about her passion and tell us a little bit about Dad and the potato farm.
Well, that'd be great. And if we wait a bit there, maybe we can do it at the farm gate store.
And who knows, maybe I'll make it down to the East Coast and show up at the farm gate store and give you a hard time.
You're welcome anytime.
Okay, my friend. Well, we're going to end the broadcast here. Thank you for everybody that was in the live chat today. For those of you that came in a little bit late, go back into the show. We've got Randy Rowe from the Grow Up on tomorrow with us. He's going to be talking about his journey in the music industry, as well as print media, and how he came up with the Grow Up. So you're going to want to check that out tomorrow. Other than that, guys, everybody have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you on the next show.
All right, Ken. See ya.